Hey, what's going on everybody? My name, of course, is Chad, and this week, I'm guiding you through a book that I actually purchased just to review because I thought it was interesting and unique. We're checking out Japanese the Manga way. Now, it is not often that a author or a printing company comes into the picture and I haven't heard of either of them ever before. Not that I'm some all-knowing resource guru, I've just held about 40 plus resources in my hands, done reviews on almost all of them, and frankly I know most of these people. I know these universities, I know these printing houses, a lot of the times I know the authors, some of them personally. And this is one I didn't know anything about, and so I was very interested to see how it works, and it was a very affordable price. I paid $16 for it on sale. I think it retails for about $24, which is $10 to $15 cheaper than most beginner textbooks, and it had really good ratings on Amazon. So I wanted to see, is it worth the small amount of hype that I've seen it have? And if it is, maybe I can help give it a little bit more. Let's check out Japanese the Manga way. From Cross Court. Hey, what's going on everybody? My name, of course, is Chad. This week we are taking our beautiful, luscious, freshly lotioned hands and checking out Japanese the Manga way, an illustrated guide to grammar and structure by a Mr. Wayne P. Lammers? It's probably Lammers, like hammers. And this book I am so excited to look at, although I am not familiar with Mr. Lammers or the company that actually prints this Stone Bridge Press. This has come up all the time when I'm searching Japanese resources on Amazon. It's always in the recommended, and I've been curious to look at it. I've had it on my list forever, and finally I actually get a chance to take a peek, and I gotta say, I am thoroughly impressed. I tried to come in without any sort of preconceptions if I can. I know oftentimes when we see Japanese sources and it says either anime or manga on the cover, I tend to bring some baggage with me. And not unjustly, but this book is actually... Well, why don't I just show you? If you can look at the contents, look at how much and how far all of the stuff in here goes to. This book is 250 pages, and in fact, I've compared it both size-wise to a bunch of the popular books as well as girth. And as you can see, it is very comparable, at least to most of the popular books. The beginner Japanese is certainly thicker, but this guy, having wider margins and bigger pages, it kind of makes up for it. I will say it is pretty substantially bigger than the Mina no Nihongo series. However, this has multiple books for its beginner level, so that's a little bit of an unfair comparison. The other thing that's really cool about this, and that's comparable, is that it is frankly a lot cheaper than most of the major books on the market. This guy runs at about $25 new, but it's often on sale. I got mine on sale for $16 brand new. It wasn't a used market buy. And most other books are around $35 to $40. But now, if this book is half as good as maybe the Genki, well then yeah, the price makes sense. But the cool thing is I actually compared this to all the beginner books, but specifically I took interest in Genki just because right now this tends to be the big one that's used. And honestly, this book makes up pretty much everything that's in Genki, minus a couple of things, and the rest that it's not made up in is actually in Genki too. It makes up kind of maybe 20% of what's actually in Genki 2 as well. So this is a very complete beginner 1 textbook. I mean, frankly, with enough of beginner 2 to be like, wow, that's really cool for $25. Now, why don't I just open to a random page here? This would be the start of lesson 10 on page 68. And let's take a look at format of this book. Now, I actually, looking at this originally, I've looked at so many textbooks. And first thing, looking at this, it wasn't what I was used to, so I kind of brought a little bit of my not liking it to it, but I sat there, I read every page of the book, read every single explanation, and let me tell you, by chapter 2 or 3, I was sold. I really enjoy what's going on here. Let's take a look up here, a direct object with a modifier. So it gives you a real manga panel, or newspaper panel, or some sort of comic panel from wherever they get it from. So this is a real Japanese phrase that they're taking it from. They give you basically what the grammar thing is, then they give you how the grammar is used. So this is like a brief explanation of direct objects and how they are used with modifiers. The second thing that does is this little section here, it says 122. That actually is the frame that is corresponding to it, and it gives you a brief synopsis to have this in context. So the actual frame is not a sentence on its own. It gives you a little bit of the context of the other frames that are inside of this particular frame. I'm saying frame a lot. Then we have the work that's going on. So you have the Japanese here. Now there's no furigana. I'm sure you can notice that. There typically is up here on some of these, but not on all of them. Then it has the Roman characters underneath it, which fine. I prefer the furigana, but I mean, that's at least it's better than nothing, right? Then you have that one facet. If you guys remember some of the other textbooks I've reviewed, I really enjoyed the fact that they have basically a word-for-word translation under each section in English, so that way you can see when it finally comes together, how is it that it comes together. Then directly under that section, you have all of the unique words that are in here, what they mean, any sort of unique grammar that's in here, and they usually, if there's other grammar that's mentioned in this book, they'll have a reference to a page on this book that you can go to help you understand that particular grammar point. So that's awesome. That is really, really good. And you can see this whole chapter happens to deal kind of with direct objects and how they work all throughout the different areas. But on top of that, the book actually has a little secret in the very, very back. And this is how you know I actually read this thing, because I went all the way back here. If you guys go to Appendix B, the manga titles used in this book, it actually gives you all of the names in Japanese and like how I guess they're the Roman characters, but maybe how you could actually write them out to be able to find them yourself. So when you finish this book, if you want more reading practice, if you want to find extra things to practice on, I mean, you could just type in any of these into Google, into the search, as long as you're searching in Japanese, like you're actually typing in that title, and you're going to be able to find tons of extra things to practice on, which I don't think that that's actually why he had this here. This is probably just, you know, attributing the rights and who they go to. But for me, being the thrifty guy that I am, this is really cool. It gives me a whole bunch of stuff to look into. So if there's a particular frame I find in the book, let's say this guy, this looks like Shin-chan, but what do I know? If this is particularly easy for you to read and understand as you go through the book, you can go, oh, I wonder what this one is. And then you can go to the back of the book and find that title, because it tells you which frames those are actually in. Now, there is something you guys do need to understand, and I think it's very apparent even from the cover. If you come all the way to the front, this is a illustrated guide to grammar and structure. So what does that mean? Well, this is not a textbook, nor is it trying to be. This is not trying to be a Genki or a Minna or a beginning Japanese or a Japanese from one. All of these books that I'm going to set over here, all of those books contain basically a workbook, either separate or a part of the book. And that means you get to read how the grammar's done, learn how that grammar works, and then go ahead and, well, practice. Like, it gives you a way to output, to practice what you're trying to learn. A lot of them even have CDs or websites or something so you can hear the grammar and the words being used, so that way you can try and pick it up. This is not so with this book, and nor is it trying to be. Consider this almost like a grammar guide, but like a grammar dictionary. I'm sure you guys have seen my other grammar dictionary reviews. I have several. Man, that makes my channel sound boring. Please don't judge my channel on the fact that I review dictionaries. But just consider this an illustrated dictionary with a little bit more breakdown on how the grammar works without necessarily being a dictionary, because if you saw at the front, this is not helping you very much break down each piece. And since it doesn't have any grammar, you can't practice it. But it does have a much more thorough breakdown of each grammar point and gives you a little fun thing to kind of figure out if this is for you. Because I really enjoyed using this book. It was actually fun for me. And I can't say that necessarily with Tanaka-san, because Tanaka-san pisses me off. I've just seen his face too much. So does this pass the Chad Zimmerman would I buy it or would I recommend it test? Abso-freaking-lutely. I'm really surprised. I don't know if I came in wanting to not like the book just because it said manga on the title, or maybe I just had some baggage seeing so many bad textbooks that say, read anime fluently in a year after you've read my book, or something like that. This book has so much content, and especially since you could buy it new on Amazon on sale, oftentimes for $16, but even full price is $25. This book is an excellent additional source, but do not expect this to replace a textbook. This is not a textbook. It is not trying to be a textbook, and if you guys read his intro in the preface, this is not meant to be a textbook. You can start this from absolute zero, but if you're looking for a structured course to take you through Japanese, whether you believe in, beginner, intermediate, advanced titles, C1 or A2, using the CEFL levels or the JLPT levels, whatever those are that you are personally striving for, trying to gauge your progress. You can start from zero with this, but if I could recommend anything, it would be check out my other textbook reviews. There's lots and lots and lots. These are just the beginner 1 textbooks from my series. I've done intermediates, beginner 2s, dictionaries, websites, podcasts, YouTube channels. Pick whichever one of these is good for you. Let's say it's this guy. And then in addition to this, consider picking this up, because if you look at any section from any of these books, I'll just show you this. Look at how many words are actually in one chapter. So you'll learn all these words, and then you'll go into your chapter, the next chapter, and actually learn how to use them. You'll have practice. You'll be able to see if you're right or wrong and check your understanding. But it definitely, if you look at any of the grammar structures in any of these books, they're often short, insufficient, or frankly boring. So this, for me, was awesome, because if I was messing something up with whatever this is, some high traffic particles, question words, that's easier for an example. Question words, I can look at this and find a bunch of different examples of how question words are. So if I find something in here that isn't explained well, or maybe it's just not connecting with me, if I found a third-party source that could maybe explain it better or with more context, which is what this is, I think that that's definitely worth it. Now, of course, that is just me. That is just my opinion. And the cool thing about this channel, when I show you these books, it is my honest hope that you will not just look at my review and move about your day, but if you like this book, you can tell me, what do you think? Is this worth a purchase? Should people maybe consider buying this? Or do you think that there's a better book that someone else should buy instead of this? Whatever your opinion is, it's totally okay. Leave it in the comment box down below. Let's inform the community more broadly. But I almost feel like I'm bleeding into my outro, so why don't we toss this over to Studio Chad. Alrighty, boys and girls, thank you so much for sticking around. That was Japanese the Manga Way. Those were my opinions. That was my ideas about the book. I'm sure you guys have seen it. You've now felt like your own hands have been on it. You've heard my thoughts. Do you agree or disagree? Would you recommend this to new language learners? Leave a comment in the box down below. Tell the world what you think. And together, between my one vote and the hundreds of people that comment down below, I think we can actually increase people's buyer awareness. If you like this video, be sure to like it down below. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or compliments, feel free to leave them in the comment box down below. I personally read all of them. If you would like to support me beyond that, I am within 200 subs of 20,000. And that feels crazy for me to say, but I'm really close. So if you would like to help me with the screenshot, or maybe you're just interested in my content, I put out videos like this every single week, maybe consider subscribing. Otherwise, if you would like to support me monetarily, you can check out my Amazon link down below. It's a wish list that I've set up that you can add books to, or just purchase ones that are already on there. Sends right to me, and I will be able to thank you in person. Other than that, you can check out my Patreon, my manga club, Zimmerman company, @That's My Chad on Twitter, the Chad Zimmerman Discord, and finally, I'm a bit of an author myself. I make my own language books, exploring languages and cultures and teaching this stuff to a new audience in kind of my own flavor. Alright, enough with the shameless self-promotion. If you are subscribed, stay after the outro. There is a special subscriber-only outro, but if you're not subbed, I do still love you. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for checking out my video and staying this long. Love hard, love deep, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye. Hey, thank you so much for sticking around after everything was said and done. I really appreciate it. You must be subbed, which means a tremendous amount to me. I just wanted to give you guys a special heads up on what's going on. I got to be interviewed on the Q podcast yesterday, actually. So we got to sit down. It was supposed to be like a 20-minute talk. It ended up being like 30 or 40 just because, I don't know, we just hit it off. She was very nice and very interesting, and we both had a lot of cool things, so I really enjoyed that process. If you would like to listen to that, it should be out in a couple of weeks. I will make a post on my channel when that comes out, but I want to warn you first that that's coming out, so if you would like to check that out, go to the Q podcast. Thank you so much for subscribing. It means so much to me. I'm almost at 20. I can't believe it. So, love hard, love deep, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.